We are back on Morningline. Thanks for joining us. It's 8:30 this morning. Nick Barris here with you, and we're going to continue our conversation this morning with elder care attorney Tim Takis. Joining us on Zoom, the number 737-7587 if you'd like to join in the conversation. And Tim, we had waiting through the break. I think Pat, is Tim there? We didn't lose him, did we? Let's see if, yep, hang on. Oh, there he is. Tim, are you there?
There is.
Oh, there you are. I just want to make sure you're with us. It froze for a second, and now we got you. We've got Pat waited through the break. Tim, let's take her call. Pat, good morning. Hi, Pat.
Hey, I got a quick question. I don't have no power of attorney. Do I need one? And I have got a living will, okay? What I won't happen if, a living will. But I don't have a regular will. Do I need one of them too?
Okay, explain to folks, by the way, if you would, Tim, what a living will is for folks that don't know.
Sure. Yeah, a living will basically says what you want to have happen if you are, if you have a terminal illness, or let's say you have what's called a persistent vegetative state, meaning you're in a coma and it doesn't look like you're ever going to get out of it. But a living will only operates, or it's only effective in a very limited set of circumstances. Like, as I said, is you have to be in a persistent vegetative state, or have a terminal illness, and really you're not really in a position that you can make a decision for yourself. It basically says, this is what I want to have happen. I don't want life support. I don't want this. I do want this. That's what a living will is. So remember, it operates only in a very limited set of circumstances. Now, a power of attorney, hopefully you were with us when we were talking about, a durable power of attorney, and my opinion that it's probably the most important legal document that an adult, in this country could execute, because essentially what it does, you're naming somebody, that will make legal and financial decisions for you, and sometimes healthcare decisions as well, although we'll talk about that in a moment. So if you became disabled or incapacitated. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you don't have a legal document, if you don't have a durable power of attorney in place, and let's say that you get Alzheimer's disease or another form of illness where you can't make decisions for yourself, at that point then maybe a court has to step in, and appoint a conservator for you, and that person would make a decision for you. So it's much easier, I think, for most people, I think most people would prefer that rather than having a court make those decisions, that you name somebody that you would trust to make the decisions. Now, obviously, nobody wants to have that happen, but it's just good planning to have something in place like that.
Hope that helps.
Yep.
To get that in place. And by the way, just have the will in place, have the living will, and power of attorney is a good thing to pursue. By the way, just for folks who don't know, and if they try to do that themselves, depending on the size of the estate, is it an expensive proposition to have an attorney like yourself or someone else set up a basic power of attorney?
It's typically not. I mean, most people, if they call the office and say, look, I really just need a power of attorney, we would, invite them to come in and have a conversation, and let's talk about, is that all you need? Do they have an estate? An estate meaning, do they have money in property? Where do they want that to go? That's the kind of things that we do. We just want to make sure that, they have a plan in place, so that if they become disabled or incapacitated, they have a plan for that. If they pass away, that they have a plan for that. If they have dependents or disabled children or a spouse or other persons that depend upon them, is there a plan in place so that they're provided for? That's really the kind of things that we're looking at.
Gotcha.
Getting the documents is the end result typically. That's essentially the end product. But getting to that point, that's when we want to have conversations with our clients about, right, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Who are you doing this for? Why is this important for you? are there, and then of course, a lot of what we do is we do a lot of education, kind of like this program. People call in and say, well, isn't a living will all I need because I don't have very much money or property? It's like, no, a living will it's not about your money or property. It's about terminal illness. It's end of life decision making. But there are other things that you got to get in place really, or to think about anyway, before you get to that point.
Excellent point. Listen, let's take another phone call for you. We got Kathy. Good morning, Kathy.
Okay.
Hi. What do you
I'm ready.
What do you got, Kathy? What's your question?
Okay, I got some children that's on Medicaid and TennCare,
Okay.
and I don't know how to make a will for them because I'm afraid the state will come in and take it all away from them.
Oh, okay. So your children, are they disabled or are they living with
They're
you?
disabled.
And how old are they? How old are they?
They're men.
Oh, they're adults, so they're disabled and they're on Medicaid, TennCare, Social Security,
Yes.
disability. And do you have and you have some assets that when you die you would like to leave in a trust for them?
Yes, I would like to leave it to them, but I don't know what to do because of the state will come in and take it,
Okay.
including my home.
Yeah, you need.
Okay, let's let
That's
Tim
one of those
lay this
things,
out.
Kathy. That's one of those things where I think, as Nick just hit it right on the head, is that it's your money and your property, and you decide what you want to do with it. And of course, what you want to do is you want to leave it to your children, or the children who are on TennCare or Medicaid, and so that once it goes to them, then they can stay on TennCare or Medicaid.
Right, and here's the question, Tim. I'm
and
wondering if she's concerned here, not that the state's going to come in and take her, inheritance to the children, but that because they are on social programs, that if all of a sudden they get an inheritance, maybe she's thinking, well, as is oftentimes the case, the state may say, well, these folks all of a sudden have some money, and you have to be indigent to get this benefit. Without that, you're going to have to pay back some of what you've been getting from us because now you have money. Talk about how that works, and that
absolutely,
is
and that's really what that's ultimate. It's kind of like what we talk about is like when we're planning for spouses. People come to us and they have one spouse in the nursing home. Then the spouse who's not in the nursing home has to have a plan so that if he or she dies first, then they're not just giving that money to the spouse who's in the nursing home, and then and then if that spouse is on Medicaid, then they lose their benefit.
Right.
And it's the same thing here is that, if Kathy dies before her children do, what she wants to do is set up a trust for them so that instead of that money going to the child and then they're off of Medicaid or TennCare, then the money is there and they in a trust. And the children are still able to stay on TennCare and Medicaid.
So there's a way you can protect that asset, because at the same time, while I understand her need, but I mean, Tim, isn't there a reason for this? I mean, if you have monies, you shouldn't be on these social benefits. You should have to pay your share. That is for the indigent, and if all of a sudden you're not indigent, then you should have to pay your own way, right? So I'm trying to get how can you shield them from losing that money, and is that really the right thing to do?
Yeah. And of course, that's something that basically, every family has to make that decision. Okay, you may have someone has several $1 million, that has a child who's on disability or can even be on TennCare. Obviously, that parent can make a decision and say, well, I don't want my child to be on TennCare. I just want to I want to pay his or her own way. Or when that parent dies, they could just leave their money to their child, and then and then they would be off of TennCare. But the issue sometimes is not just being on or off of benefits, but can that child who's on TennCare is he or she capable of managing those assets?
Right.
It's not just necessarily about being on a public benefit. Because the trust can be drafted in such a way that that the money could be there, that the child, let's say, who's on TennCare could lose their TennCare, and then the trust would would be able to pay for things that TennCare was paying for.
Okay.
If there's enough money, but still you have somebody that's one of the reasons. There's a lot of reasons to have a trust. One of them is asset management.
So what you're saying, though, to her then is that there probably is a way, if she wants to set up a trust, where this can be worked out, where her fear of having the state all of a sudden swooping in and taking it all could be avoided.
Absolutely.
Okay, then she just needs
we do
to,
this.
yeah. You do that all the time.
We do that all the time, and then so Kathy calls us, or she calls, somebody that, if we can't help her, we would refer to somebody that we feel could help her. That person, that lawyer would be able to, sit down with her and say, okay, let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish here. Let's look at your estate. Let's look at what your children's capacity is. What benefits are they receiving? Do you want them to continue to get those benefits? Would they be better off not being on TennCare? If there was enough money that they would not need to be on TennCare. All those things, that's subject to those are Kathy's. It's Kathy's money. It's her children, and she, it's her decision that she needs to make.
Okay, listen, we'll take a break, but I hope, Kathy, if you took note, and she may have money in the bank, she may have assets, property, all of this that could be liquidated to go toward that. Kathy, stick around, because at the end of the program, of course, as always, we will put up Tim's office number. His office, again, it's in Hendersonville, right? I know you moved to a new office.
Yes.
But we'll have that contact information, and those calls to inquire about this and get more information are always free at the outset. So, yeah, stick around, Kathy, and I think you can do what you want to do. When we come back, Tim, we've got a few more phone calls in our final segment for you right after this.